Hey, I'm back today with a very tight white shirt on for a very special reason. I want to talk about my two different closures a little bit more at the 9-month point past my Goldilocks mastectomy. At the end of this video, I will take my shirt off and show you my two closures a little bit more close up and in the bright light, but I wanted to start out just in case there are people that don't want to see my bare skin and my tattoo. If you're not interested in seeing something that personal, I just want you to be able to see what I'm talking about while I'm talking in the rest of the video. So that's why I'm wearing this revealing shirt, which I would never wear probably out in person in public in real life, because it is pretty revealing and has a strong sense of the shadows that reveal my body shape. That I'm not always just trying to flaunt out there. Sometimes I am, but not very often. So I want to talk today about Goldilocks mastectomy and aesthetic flat closure and the confusion between the two. There's definitely a gray area where they cross over, and I think it's really confusing to talk about, even for myself and being in this community where we talk about it all the time. So I just wanted to do a quick video talking about the difference between the two in terms of what they look like and what they can look like. I have another video that's all about what different flat closures look like. So I'm not going to focus so much on the appearance as much as the definition and then the differences, like the fact that Goldilockses are almost always different from woman to woman. They're always unique and almost never exactly the same. And just to give you an example of what mine has been like and looks like. So the NCI has, just in the last few years, made a formal definition and acknowledgement that there is such a thing medically as an aesthetic flat closure. And I'll read their definition because it is a little bit broad. So it's saying that with AFC, or aesthetic flat closure, extra skin, fat, and other tissue are removed, and the remaining tissue is tightened and smoothed out so that the chest wall appears flat. Now, when you remove all of the excess skin and fat and other tissue and stretch things tight, the effect is not always flat. In fact, most often it is concave, like me. I have they took all the extra skin and fat and breast tissue away and pulled it pretty tight. That did leave me a slight inframammary fold down here so that I would be able to raise my arm and have plenty of skin to flex to allow that without a tightness and a discomfort in my skin. So I do have a little bit less than a fully flat affect because of my inframammary fold, which you might be able to see right here. It just means that the little fold that happens under your breast naturally. And so in my case, it is true that they removed all excess skin and fat and tissue and did pull it tight. So by the NCI definition of aesthetic flat closure, my left side here is pretty accurate to that definition, and yet I am not flat, I am actually concave. So most women are convex, meaning they have a little extra something beyond flatness. I have a little less than flatness. I have a little dip in my side here by the top of my pectoral muscle. And so the definition AFC being flat is a little bit misleading. I think that a lot of women you'll see in photos who are indeed flat and not concave, so they don't have a dip here, are actually survivors or patients who have had a Goldilocks mastectomy, which means that there's been a little extra skin preserved that was tucked under this area to make it appear flat and not concave. And that is often the most common cultural experience or definition of being flat or having aesthetic flat closure. That's definitely the most aesthetic outcome. I think we would all agree as flatties that it is not desirable or aesthetic to have this dip and this concavity in here, this little empty hole. It's not convenient fashion-wise, and it's not convenient in terms of just aesthetically looking at the body. It's much more desirable to have a little bit of something in here that was left from excess skin. Now, excess skin is not part of the definition of aesthetic flat closure in the medical technical sense, but I think culturally we definitely use it more broadly. No matter how much weight we carry, we're going to have this concavity if they are indeed taking all the extra skin and not doing a Goldilocks. In almost every case, some of us will have more concavity, some of us will have less, but there'll always be some kind of little dip here. And that's what you get when you get the true aesthetic flat closure. So that's something you don't necessarily want to ask for unless you understand that your surgeon sees it more broadly and can maybe save an extra skin if that's what you would like. My experience of having the Goldilocks procedure, which saved all of my excess skin, not just a little, in order to make a crescent-shaped lower breast mound, I had to ask for that. I had to show pictures of that. I had to get on the same page as my surgeon to make sure we both had the same understanding of what I was asking for. And I think you have to do that with a regular AFC too. Whether you want to be concave or whether you want to be flat, you need to tell them exactly what you want. Whether you want extra skin to be saved, if you want to kind of fill in this concavity, or if you don't want to. It's up to you, of course. You're the only one that matters in that conversation. And hopefully you have access to lots of photos, and my other video will help with that, as well as the website called Not Putting on a Shirt is an excellent resource for photos too. And the Facebook groups out there on flatness, such as Fierce Flat Forward and Flat and Fabulous. Those are great resources for photos as well. But I just wanted to be clear, if you're looking at getting a surgery in the coming weeks or months, you really want to be very careful and technical and verbose with your surgeon about what you want, because if they're looking at the technical definition and following the letter of the law according to the NCI, they will take all of your extra skin and pull you tight and make you not flat but concave, if they follow that definition. But if they follow a more cultural definition and truly aesthetic definition, which would make you flat and not concave, then they probably will need to save some extra skin and not throw away all of that tissue. In my experience, it didn't take extra time at all to have my Goldilocks mastectomy. It didn't take more than maybe 20 or 30 minutes longer than it took to have this less aesthetic outcome to get an actual breast mound. My difficulty with asking for a Goldilocks really was to find the right surgeon to do the kind of Goldilocks that I wanted. I didn't want a flat Goldilocks. I wanted a breasted Goldilocks. And I didn't want a breasted Goldilocks that was evenly convex. I didn't want the peak of my breast to be here. I wanted the peak of my breast to be lower so that I had a little bit of just some bulk hanging at the bottom of my breast. Some surgeons will do a Goldilocks and evenly distribute the extra skin underneath your final outcome, or your top layer of skin, and you'll have more of a mound up here, higher. And I didn't want that. I didn't like that when I looked at photos. I wanted the lower crescent-shaped, just roundness that comes down at the inframammary fold area. I wanted a little bit of droop, I guess, is what they call it in the world of mastectomy talk. So I really like my outcome. I love it. There's a tiny bit of convexity missing here, so there's a little bit of a dip here. If you have a really tight shirt, you can see it, but most shirts just gloss over that and show this part here. Now, if I was really perfectionistic or vain, I might get fat grafting and fill in this little dip here, this hollow spot at this point. I'm not planning on doing that because I want to save my body the inflammation that an extra surgery would cause. Even if it wasn't an anesthetized surgery, I don't want to go through that inflammation for various reasons. I just have a sensitive body and I've had enough inflammation and stress and surgeries. So I think a lot of women would probably get a little bit of fat grafting from other parts of their body and fill this in and hope that it sticks. A lot of times when you do fat redistribution, it doesn't stick around. It the body kind of disposes of it and it doesn't last. So that's another risk involved if you were to do that. But I'm pretty happy with my outcome, so much so that I've ordered a custom prosthetic to match this side to sit in my little cleft here and protrude in an even way that will match this side. And I'm really excited to share that with you when it arrives from Germany, but it's taking a long time, so it hasn't arrived yet. But that is kind of the gist of what I wanted to talk about. This is truly an aesthetic flat closure by the books, by the NCI definition, and it includes concavity. And concavity is not my favorite, and most people are not thrilled with it. They were able to save me a tiny bit of, I don't know what it is, if it's just skin or breast tissue or fat that's over here, and it makes me appear to have a little bit of cleavage in the center part. But over here I'm very, very hollow, and I don't love that. But that is a true aesthetic flat closure by the books. And then, you know, if you wanted flatness, you would have a little bit of skin just filling in this part, which a lot of my flat friends do. And then if you want some convexity, then you want the Goldilocks. And if you have enough skin to create an actual mini breast like I have here, then you might want it in a crescent, lower crescent shape, or you might want it in a more rounded, evened out, centralized shape, which can also be done. And certain surgeons specialize in one or the other, so you might seek out a surgeon that does it the first way or the second way, depending on what you want. Okay, now is the time when I'm going to take my shirt off and just show and maybe pull the curtain open so you can see in bright light what these two outcomes look like. And you can also maybe see the little bit of cleavage that they left that does look somewhat even for me when I wear a really tight dress or a really tight shirt. So if you're not interested in seeing my skin, then this would be the time to tune out. And that is totally okay. I'll see you in the next video if that's the case. So I'm just gonna stand up a little bit here and show with light and shadow what the convexity looks like on this side. You can kind of see the shadow with my arm over it, how it is shaped. And then there's a little bit of extra tissue or skin here, and that appears to be cleavage when I am covered. And then this is my 9-month-old Goldilocks. I still have pretty pink scars, but there is a little bit of droop. You can see there is some shelf here, which is the main goal that I had. I'm really happy with that outcome. With the shadow, you might be able to see the little bit of dip here when I turn, and maybe not. You can see my inframammary fold really well on this side. And then of course I have it here with the scar on this side. So I'm not doing this to be an exhibitionist so much as just to help you who are looking for the right surgical outcome know what to ask for, and you can feel free to share my video here with your surgeon if you would like to. And that is it for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in my next video.